Welcome to another episode of the Money Wheel Podcast. The journey to wealth starts here with your host, Andrea Koput.
Hello, my friends and future millionaires. Andrea here with your episode of the Money Wheel Podcast. And I'm going to talk to you today about something I've already talked to so many people about. This is one of my it's within 10 seconds, a veteran copywriter to a newbie copywriter. And why am I the one to tell you about that? Well, I'm the copy girl. And guess what? So are you. Each one of you has put pen to paper sometime in their life for someone else to read what it is they wrote. And the way you use two things will distinguish you from a beginner to a seasoned pro, and I can tell in less than 10 seconds. And what are those two things? Those are your punctuation and your capitalization. And why do I bring it up? Why does it matter how you use your capital letters and how you use your punctuation? Well, the better you are at using those two things, and the better you are at refraining, that's the big one, refraining from using these things, will convert into the sales, the leads, the clients, the dollars, and the profit in your pocket. And that's why we're all here. The better you are at putting words to paper, the better the results will be for you. The higher your profits, the better your open rate, your return rate, all of these really important numbers all come down to how you use a couple really little things. And guess what? Now, after watching this podcast, you're going to know how to use and not use those two things. So, one of the biggest things that we all use, especially when we're starting and in the world of text messaging, is the exclamation mark. Now, this right here is so easy to add everywhere. So people add it everywhere. You need to use your exclamation marks like sprinkles on a cupcake or pepper on an omelet. A little bit goes a long way. The more you use exclamation marks, the more you're exclaiming something's important when maybe it's not, or it can come across as you're yelling at people. It takes your copy down in maturity level, right? So if you are using an opening line, a heading with an exclamation mark, great, awesome, get their attention. But if the next line also has an exclamation and throughout your whole copy, there is more than three, again, the rule of threes, it's too much. Use them sparingly. And the same goes for capitalization. Your capitalization, and I am a big fan when it comes to your call to action, attention-getting headlines using capitalization, all caps. It is important because it's a very distinguishable identifier, especially in times when you don't maybe have formatting options. Using in all caps, there will get your attention, just like a dog barking. He got my attention. I know my dog needs help, and I'll get to him in a second. But right now, your call to action can be in all caps. But if you have all caps too much in your piece, it loses its effectiveness. People see through it. People don't act. People don't click through, and people will bounce. If you overdo those two elements, your content loses its maturity, and the emphasis you're trying to make loses all effectiveness. Use those exclamations sparingly if necessary. Use your capitalization intentionally for a purpose. I will use my capital. I will title case a lot of things. That means I will capitalize the first letter of everything for headlines. Great. All caps should be reserved for actionable headlines, actionable call to actions. That's when you should use those things. Your click here buttons, your email buttons, your buy now. That's when you should use them. Remember, people are reading everything. And the act of the subliminal brain on if you are telling them, asking them, or yelling at them It is very apparent in how you use your words. So when you write a piece, reread it. Before you publish it, take a break, come back to it, read it again. If you have used those elements tastefully, publish it. If it needs a little bit of work, and hey, even my pieces, after rereading them, a lot of them need editing, and that's okay. That's the sign of a maturity level, that you are confident in what you've done because you're okay reading it, changing it, morphing it, and reusing it. Use your punctuation with a purpose, and it will lead to success. This has been your episode of the Money Wheel Podcast. Andrea here, and I'll see you all later. You have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Money Wheel Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and like the podcast. For everything that was talked about in today's amazing show, go to moneywheelpodcast.com and get today's show notes, past episodes, and most importantly, you can connect with Don Shade on all his social media platforms. Again, at moneywheelpodcast.com. If you are just looking to email Don, you can email him at don@moneywheelpodcast.com. For a list of all our tools we use in our business, you can go to moneywheelpodcast.com/resources. Again, thank you for listening to today's podcast, and see you in our next episode of the Money Wheel Podcast.